Hello and welcome to another edition of Trout Talk here on Saga 960 AM, episode 26 already, and that includes a couple of weeks off over the Christmas break. So we are flying along here, trying to get to everybody and talk all things Steelheads in the OHL. Zach Bodenstein, Brendan Lang, Mike Karafalitas back at it again. Boys, I was off last week, as Mikey said, on assignment up in the chopper. It was pretty cool, actually. We'll get into that in a moment. But how are you boys doing? What's going on?
Yeah, doing okay. Like you just said, we had one episode there with Scott Wheeler. That was a good one. Mikey and I got to chat with him about some upcoming prospects with the Steelheads in the NHL draft. So that was cool to talk to him about. Haven't really been around the rink much. I mean, I know Zach, you were around the rink in the All-Star festivities, but for the Steelheads, they haven't played at home for this past weekend. Mikey was out on the road, but for me personally, kind of the same thing every time. Obviously, you have some more exciting things that you can talk about than I do, but yeah, just kind of going about it every day. Same old thing as every time we come on here.
Mike, what's going on, man?
Yeah. Just got back from the Great White North there, so blessed with some good weather up there. It was very nice, thank goodness. It was nice and sunny. And it was a nice little road trip. Steelheads went 1-2. Could have easily went 2-1 on that road trip, but it was a good road trip overall. It was good. It was good.
Do you remember? I think it was last year, maybe January. The Steelheads were in Sudbury, and you were at their morning skate, and you're texting me, "Dude, it's minus 20 Celsius, minus 35 with the wind chill, snow's
39.
up to our knees. Like, what is going on?"
39. It was minus 39 or minus 45 or something like that with the wind chill. I couldn't even step. Nobody could step outside. Like you just turn into an iccle, pretty much, right? So, but. Yeah, it was nice weather up there, thank goodness. So we got kind of lucky with that. Yeah, it was good. But man, Steelheads could have won easily 2 out of 3 of those games. And against the Sudbury Wolves, they got off of that 2-0 lead. We'll get into that later, I guess. But that's pretty much it. What I've been up to on the weekend there.
Yeah, definitely some positives to take away from those games, and we'll dive into those shortly. A lot's been going on my end. We talked about, me being in the helicopter on assignment, so that was super cool to be like adjacent to the tip of the CN Tower in a helicopter where I can barely move. Like it's so tight in there. So that was cool. And then covering the NHL All-Star festivities this weekend was great. So got to interview Will Arnett, Sidney Crosby, Austin Matthews, Leon Draisaitl. The list goes on, Tomas Hertl. Like it was just super cool. And you could see my Shark shirt. Like I grew up a huge Shark fan. So speaking of Hertl, like that was just a full circle moment for me because I grew up watching him and that was super cool. So definitely it's been wild. I think I'm also covering the Leafs outdoor practice at Nathan Phillips Square this week. So that'll be fun. And then the alumni game. So it's just, a lot of new stuff, which keeps things fresh. That's a life tip we can get into as well. Just trying to change up your routine, try new things. So we can get into that later. But let's first talk about those Northern games. There were 3 of them. I talked to Luke Misa a couple years ago. I think it was last year. And he said that was the toughest road trip just based on the travel, the weather, the quality of teams always, and the bus legs. So, Mike, you were at all the games. Let's start with the game against North Bay. Shutout 3-0.
Well, that game against North Bay, they didn't really get off to a good start. They, the battalion got off to a really good start. They just really forechecked hard. The Steelheads kept them in their own end. They couldn't really get out of there at all. Jack Ivankovic was absolutely phenomenal on Thursday. It could have easily been more. They did hit a goal post, a couple of chances where, what's his I just drew a brain fart here. I think I'm still in Northern time. For the life of me, I had an open net. Witkowski, sorry about that. Kieran Witkowski had kind of like an open net, and then DiVincentis came out to challenge, and he got caught way out. And DiVincentis was lucky to get back in position. He shot it and right at him, kind of thing, But I don't know. It's just one of those games. It was a tough loss for the Steelheads on the Thursday. Didn't come out with a lot of energy. And James Richmond wasn't too happy with the lack of energy that they didn't come out with on the Thursday.
Yeah, with the 3-0 loss, you said it there. Ivankovic played pretty well. He kept them in the game. You said it probably could have been more than 3. But again, it was kind of that first game of the trip. They've talked so much about the youth of the team and still learning how to travel. And you just said it, Zach, how Luke Misa had said it's the hardest trip. This is the first time a lot of these guys have experienced this kind of trip. So definitely some learning experiences from that. And also, too, the level of competition, especially this season. You're playing North Bay, Sault Ste. Marie, who they played a really good game against. And we can talk about that in a moment. And then getting Sudbury there sitting in first place in the East. So, I mean, a lot of quality teams they're playing there. And yeah, just got off to a little bit of a slow start in North Bay, but they did pick things up as the trip went on.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we're talking about 3 teams that loaded up at the trade deadline and 3 teams that were already contenders, coming into that trade deadline and got even better. So tough test for the Steelheads. They've still got their share of injuries without Leskovar and Zabeski. Mikey, I know those are 2 big absences. In terms of the physicality too, like we talk about how this is a young team. Those are 2 guys who really bring it. They're not afraid to get a little bit nasty out there. So, and obviously Zabeski is a huge secondary scoring punch for this team. That said, though, in the Sioux, Mikey, the secondary scoring certainly came alive. And
it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Newly put line together. See, Richmond, JR decided to put the lines in a blender. And he said, you know what, enough is enough kind of thing. Let's see, let's put the other guys together. So how about the line of Carmiris, Van Bolsen, and McDonnell? Oh, my goodness. So if I go through this, let's see. 4 assists for Lucas Carmiris. He was the first star of the game. He was probably the best game of the season. He was absolutely going up and down the ice. He was a +3, guys. Jack Van Bolsen, 2 goals, a +3. McDonnell, 2 goals and 2 assists. This is one line. They just, every time they got on the line, they were dominating, right? Stidlicki was really good. Misa was really good. Martone was back in Sault Ste. Marie. Kind of, I guess that's where his dad grew up. So kind of ran into some of his relatives in the elevator, which is kind of cool. And the one lady says, "Who are you with?" I said, "Well, I'm with Mississauga." "Oh, we're Martone." I said, "Oh, that's great." So I thought that was pretty cool. So they were going up to a private box. I guess they had a box for his family. But no, the physicality was great in that game. Leanders was great again, was absolutely phenomenal in that game. But the new line, this line was really good, and they just kept pouring it on all game. And the one thing too is the power plays. They only got in the box 3 times that game. The Mississauga Steelheads, only 3, right? And that's pretty good, right? The discipline was good. What I'm trying to say, and 2 times, only 2 times were the Sioux on the power play, and they only went 1 for 2. But not bad when you're in the box 2 times. Steelheads had 3 power plays. You don't see that. I mean, the discipline was there. So yeah, they pushed that big team around. I'll tell you that right now. And Sault Ste. Marie wasn't ready for it, and the good people in Sault Ste. Marie thought it was going to be a blowout. And I said, "We'll see." I said, "We'll see what happens." And sure enough, we blew them out. So it was nice to see. It was a great team effort.
For sure, and it was a huge response game coming off of that game against North Bay to especially get off to the start that they did. Like, they came out flying in that game against Sault Ste. Marie, and again, we talked about that early on in the game. Sometimes it's hard to get started when you have this travel, but after the slow start in North Bay, they completely flipped the script, came out flying. You said that they kind of shuffled the lines up. That line was good. You had 3 guys scoring 2 goals and Carmiris chipping in with 4 assists there. Gave up 40 shots, and Leanders, I mean, absolutely spectacular in that game. And he was spectacular again in the next game as well. So, I mean, a lot of things to take away from that one. You talk about Martone going back, Mark Boudreau back there too. Kind of a homecoming for him in a couple different areas on the road trip. So pretty cool for him to go back there. And yeah, it was a big game for them and a big win against a really good team.
He's one of the only guys that I know. I don't think I can think of anybody else that played for Sault Ste. Marie and Sudbury. So I think that's pretty cool. And he scored a goal against both. Wait, did he score a goal against? No, he did not. He didn't score a goal against the Sioux, but he was a factor on the ice. But he did score against Sudbury, so had that little extra oomph to him. So he played well.
The only other guy I could think about who played for both those teams, Jacob Holmes.
Right.
They might have been in the same trade, but what I like about that line, JVV, Carmiris, and McDonnell, is that they all play center. And I think even without Zabeski, I think that speaks to the depth of the Steelheads. And that's something that I've been kind of picking at a little bit. Just like, when are we going to start to see some of the other guys get on the score sheet? So changing things up. James Richmond's been doing this a really long time. He knows his guys. This team is still trying to learn how to play together in a sense because of how new they are and how young they are in this league. I mean, it worked, and let's see if they could. Obviously, getting on the scoreboard 6 times is great. They scored 3 or 4 more in Sudbury. I can't remember how many goals they scored in Sudbury.
Three. It was a 6-3 final. Yeah.
They were having a lot of trouble before this trip scoring more than 3 goals in a game. Obviously, they did that in the Sioux. So that was good to see against a good team. So, injuries and this team is going to start coming back together once again. So we're going to take a quick break here and bring in a special guest on the other side of it. This is Trout Talk on Saga 960 AM. And welcome back to Trout Talk, all things Mississauga Steelheads on Saga 960 AM. Zach Bodenstein, Brendan Lang, Mike Karafalides, and Steelheads defenseman Reed Gee is joining us now here on Trout Talk. So I've actually never met Reed. This is the first time. Hello. And how's it going, man?
Good. How are you?
We are all good. We're all good. So, Reed, let's talk about that northern road trip that you guys just came off of. How do you think you guys played?
I think we were all right against North Bay. I thought we were just finding our groove up north. It's a tough road trip to play up there, but I thought against the Sioux we were lights out. It was probably our best game since I've been here, I think. And then I thought Sudbury, we had 2 good periods, and then we kind of let the game get away from us in the third.
And just kind of you coming in, of course, in a trade here not too long ago. How's everything been going? Getting acclimated to your new teammates, new coaching staff, new arena, everything around there. How's that been so far?
It was difficult at the start coming from an American team, but it's been good. The staff's super great, and it's a great group inside that dressing room, and they've been nothing more than welcoming. So it's been good.
You are tough as nails back there, Reed, and I keep telling you this. I mean, every time I see you, you're just a tough guy back there, man. Do you remember that double hit against Sault Ste. Marie? I think you pinned 2 guys on the boards at the same time. I mean, wow.
No, I don't remember that.
You don't remember? Oh, I do. You hit one guy, you pinned him up, and then the puck came loose, and then you just skated off of him and just went right to the other guy. It was just kind of like a double whammy to me. But anyway, it was unbelievable. So, but your play has been really, you seem more and more comfortable each game by game back there. Like unbelievable. Talk to me about that.
I think I have to give full props to Matty, our D coach. He's been working with me from the second I've got here, and, just becoming more accustomed to the systems and obviously playing with new players. But yeah, it's been good and a lot of work in practice. So I'd have to give it to Matty there.
All of it to Matty? No,
yeah.
You got to take some. You got to take some of the right. You got to take some.
Yeah, he's helped me a lot. He's helped me a lot though in this month, so it's been good.
That's great. Great coach. Great defensive coach.
Reed, do you remember dropping the gloves with Porter Martone?
Yeah, I do. My first year last year. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I'm wondering, because I mean, this could really go for anybody that you fought. When you talk to them after the game, let alone teammates, but is it all good after you guys fight? It's battle on the ice, but friends off the ice?
Yeah, for sure. Your enemies on the ice. Even when we played Flint last week, you're still best friends with the guys, but for 60 minutes, they're the enemy. So can't take it lightly. But obviously, we haven't talked about it yet, but it's been all good. We've always me and him have always battled minor hockey. Our first year, he played for Sarnia, I played for Flint. But the second I got traded here, he's been super nice, and now we're buddies.
And do you think it gets brought up at any point? Or are you going to be the one to kind of go up to and be like, "Hey, remember that time we fought? Like, is that going to happen?" Or you think you're just going to leave it unsaid?
I don't know. We'll see how the year goes on, but I bet it goes unsaid.
So when you were traded from Flint to the Steelheads, your initial thought, I mean, coming from country, different living, of course. Well, you are Canadian, of course, coming from near Kingston, Ontario, correct?
Yeah.
And just talk about the whole transition and whatnot coming here.
I was actually super excited to obviously get back in Canada. It's a little different being in the States, and it's nice to be closer to home. I get to see family more often, and young team, right around my age group. So I was super excited about it.
Reed, you got into a couple playoff games last year with the Flint Firebirds. we talked about how you play a tough as nails game. Tell Steelheads fans why, I mean, assuming this team goes to the playoffs, tell Steelheads fans why you're such a good fit back there for the playoffs.
Okay.
7-game series can be a long series, and you're playing every other day. Am I back?
Oh yeah, no, you've always been there.
Yeah, you know, so 7-game series, or even a 4-game series can be long, but you know, I think playing every other day, it's a grind. So if you can finish your checks and be a hard-nosed player, it's definitely not fun for the other team.
Reed, talk about the importance of these 3 games coming up this weekend. Peterborough Pete's on Thursday, the Barrie Colts on Friday, and then on Sunday against the Sudbury Wolves. I mean, talk about the importance, the coaching staff. What are they saying to you guys?
I mean, you know, it's coming close to playoff time. It's obviously the second half of the season, and they're 3 winnable games. Sorry, like we could get those 6 points, and we just have to play well and play our game. And I think it'll really help us coming into playoffs with the standings and home ice advantage. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and I think it'll really help us in the playoffs.
Who are some of the guys you've been gravitating towards since coming over to Mississauga? We talked about Porter and how he's been super welcoming, but who are some guys that are standing out to you off the ice?
I'd say everybody. Everybody's been super welcoming, but obviously the guys with letters usually step up early on to welcome you more than others. So I'd have to give that to Angus and Chaz. They were super welcoming right off the bat, and Angus actually knew Tristan Bertucci. They played minor hockey together, so I kind of had an in that way early on because they were talking about me when I was driving here, so that helped.
And just to kind of building on the relationship part of it, just with the defense corps specifically, you talked about Sharpie there. So you're out there with Chaz. I mean, you have Finn back there, Parker Von Richter. Like, how has the relationship kind of grown through this first month with those guys?
Yeah, we actually have a super tight D corps. I think I wouldn't really segregate it though into like D goalies, forwards. I think everybody's just kind of, it's family in the dressing room. So it's been really good. But I think as a D corps, we kind of stick together. We're always out after practice and on the development ice working together. So it's been really good, and I'm really enjoying it.
Reed, I really thought against the Sudbury Wolves when got off that 2-0 lead, just coasting along. Finn Harding, beautiful shot, whatnot, defensively playing well back there. Then it seemed like Sudbury's defense just kept pinching and pinching and pinching. They're just throwing 6 guys in the zone at one time. That's one thing I feel. What do you think about this? You know, fast breakouts against that Wolves team, and then it's going to be lights out for them. It's going to be 2-0 against Vondrus every time. What do you think about that?
I mean, yeah, they're obviously a super offensive team, so they're going to run and gun up the ice all night long. But I think if we can get them on their heels and get them in the D zone, I really don't think they like to play defense, and I think that's where we can dominate the game.
Totally agree. Yeah. You do not like to play defense. And every time you guys had them inside of their zone, they were cleared up, intercepted, up the middle, intercepted, around the boards, intercepted, shot. I thought Vondrus got a little bit lucky, and I thought as well that Martone's goal shouldn't have been called back. Ridiculous. How about that goal against Nathan Villeneuve scored? Should that have been called a goal? Absolutely not. I never knew it was okay to hit a goaltender in the head, which Goyette did. That's okay.
Yeah.
Villeneuve puts it in the net. That's a goal. Okay. I actually said on the broadcast, I said, wow. One word, wow. All right, here we go at center ice. Anyway, what do you think about what'd you think about those 2 goals, Reed? That's my question.
Obviously, being on the Mississauga side of it, you want our goal to get called for, and our goal to be allowed, and their goal to be called back. But you know, it's at the end of the day, it's the ref's choice. So not much we can do about it except move on to the next game.
Well, you gave the right answer there. Something else is going through your head. You just don't want to say. That's okay. Be professional. Good boy. Attaboy. But I know something else is going through there, my man. I'll get it out of you. I'll get it out of you this Thursday. I'll get it out of you Thursday. Anyway.
For a kid born in 06, a very mature answer. with
Yes, yeah,
a lot of
absolutely, Ben.
emotions at stake.
Yes, absolutely.
So okay, so we're talking about the Sudbury Wolves, and this episode's actually going to air right before that game starts. Talk to me about some of the challenges going against guys like Musty, Goyette, Dvorsky. We talked about how offensive that team is. So what are some of the challenges with shutting down those top guys?
I mean, I feel like when you're on the ice against those guys, you find yourself in the D zone a lot more than in the offensive zone because they're especially that line, they're super offensively talented and a lot of high draft picks due to the NHL a lot of them are signed too. So, I mean, I think it's just about like having a good stick, good positioning, and obviously being physical and finishing my lines with them and making it hard to play against.
Yep.
And coming off of that Northern road trip, of course, last game playing against Sudbury, what has kind of been the emphasis in the practice here moving forward throughout the week that maybe needed a little bit of fixing since you were out there and has really been kind of focused on in the practices here throughout the last couple of days?
Yeah, I'd probably say just quick breakouts. I think getting the puck out of our zone as fast as possible, and then obviously getting pucks deep and getting behind their D, and that would be probably the main pinpoints. But I think just sticking to our systems and buying into what the coaches are saying is the biggest thing right now, and just being consistent.
Zach Bonusty.
Mikey's up. We go in a little circle.
This is a great interview right now. Okay, I gotta ask you one thing. So when you guys get together, right? You get together at somebody's house or something like that. You know what I mean? Who's the guy that is there one guy that cooks, or do you guys order out all the time? You know what I mean? I can see maybe like Adam. No, I can't see Adam's in Licky cooking. He's not a cook. He's not a cook. I can see Stevie Lescobar cooking for all you guys. Is that true? Tell me if I'm right. And say, hey guys, no, am I wrong? I don't know.
No, you're wrong.
Way off.
I think there's usually not much cooking happening. It's usually a quick DoorDash order or Uber Eats.
You guys need a chef. You guys need a personal chef.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we do.
So here's my next question, because I assume you guys are going to be ordering food for the Super Bowl. The boys getting together to watch the game?
Yeah, I think we are. I think we're planning something out to get together after the Sudbury game to watch together.
Awesome.
Who do you have? Are you a big football guy? Who do you have in the Super Bowl?
I'm not really a big football guy. I don't really care who wins, to be honest.
Me too.
All right, Reed, I want to circle the wagons a little bit here. So talk about you're starting your hockey career, your minor league hockey, growing up and stuff like that. Who was one guy that you mentored growing up?
That I mentored or that mentored me?
Give me both answers. I like both.
I would probably say my dad. He was a big role model, obviously helped me through everything and obviously paying for everything and driving me to the rink all the time. I'd probably say him. And just all of my family being super supportive and always having my back through all the ups and downs of hockey. They've been super supportive and super good about everything. So it's been good.
Yeah, my parents always used to say, guys, like, you'll thank me later. You'll realize how much work I'm putting in to let you play hockey. I mean, we were like, I played in Vaughan mostly, but like going to Scarborough, but also going to Mississauga, Milton, tournaments in Brampton. Like we were all over the GTA. So shout out to the hockey parents, because they're. I mean, Mikey, that might be you soon, man. You might be doing that.
I hope so. That's up to mother. That's up to mother. I'm not saying nothing. So we'll see. But the boys got to come to a game first, right? So anyway, we're not getting into that.
Gotta get them out there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Some more kind of off the ice with the transition. I want to get into a little bit more. You're still a guy who's in high school, so that's got to be a little bit different too, getting traded and not just moving teams, but moving schools and obviously billets and all that kind of stuff. So what's that experience been like?
Yeah, so I actually I really helped myself out in that situation. I ended up taking 2 summer courses last year and then 2 summer courses this year. And then in Flint, since it's like an American team, like the school courses won't transfer over to Canadian, so we do all online. And I actually finished so I only had 3 courses this year, so I would finish at Christmas time realistically, but I finished my online classes before I got traded. So I came over here and had no school and no worries about school. So it was perfect, actually.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Reed, I
actually
remember.
fantastic.
Sorry, Mikey.
No, go ahead, buddy. I was just going to say.
I remember. So the trade was announced in the morning, but I was told the deal was actually done the night before it was announced. And then you ended up playing that day. Like, talk to us about the whirlwind of emotions. Getting traded, were you expecting it? And then being in the lineup, like with totally different guys, not knowing the system. What was that like?
Did you say see ya? Or, talk to us about that.
It was good. I got scratched that game, so I was kind of pissed about that. And then I was gonna go home that night after the game from Flint because we got off the 15th was our last game, and then we could go home. And I actually got a call from my agent. He was like, "You might not want to go home tonight. You might have just got traded." But he's like, "Keep it on the down low for now. We don't know like the full details yet." And then after the game, I got called into the coach's office, and they told me I'd just been traded to Mississauga. And I was like kind of weirded out at the start, and then I got a call from my agent after, and he pretty much explained everything to me, and I was super excited about it. And then I went home, and I was like starting to pack stuff up, and I was kind of taking my time. And then JR actually called me at like, I want to say maybe midnight. And he was like, "Do you mind leaving early tomorrow? We could use you in the lineup." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll be there."
I can see him saying that. That's awesome. Talk to me about playing with Finn Harding back there. It seems like you two got a really good thing going. Talk about that. Talk about playing with Finn.
Yeah, I like it. He's, I want to say, more of an offensive guy, but can also play a two-way game. And it's actually super nice to play with him because, he can join the rush and I can kind of play my game and not as much so stay back, but kind of play my more defensive style. And say he gets stuck up in the rush, I can kind of have his back and help him out. So I think it works well. There's kind of two sides to the game and our deep pairing.
I totally noticed that. Finn's been jumping up, being more confident. You guys really have a good thing going back there. Let's just keep that good thing going back there against these Sudbury Wolves.
Yeah, good kind of different skill sets to offset things. You'd said a little bit there earlier that you're closer to home now playing in Canada, so I know it's still a little ways away from Kingston, but are your parents getting out to more games now, or is your family out here in Mississauga? Like, or have they been coming out to games?
Yeah, I've almost had a family member at every game or every home game in Mississauga so far, so it's been really good on that aspect, and my parents are enjoying it a lot more instead of having to drive the 8 hours from Kingston to Flint, so they're really happy about that part. Yeah, that's with the border 8 hours.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that border, that Flint border.
Well, it's like it's west all the way to east. It makes sense. Yeah,
the Buffalo borders. The Buffalo border is a lot more easier, I find, than the border that you're going through in Flint. It seems like the Michigan border, they're more strict. I don't know. The Buffalo ones are like, yeah, okay, where are you going? All right, boom, 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 boom. See you later, Flint. They look at you. Look at Michigan, up and down. I'm like, what? This is me on the passport. What do you want? I feel like saying to one of the guys, right? And then I looked over. I can't remember. I looked over at somebody. And we just kind of like laughed a little bit. And he thought, "Okay, go ahead." 10 seconds later, or 20 seconds later. It's supposed to be a 5-second process. Get me through. Anyway, just saying.
Speak for yourself. I mean, I was at one of the, I can't remember if it was the Rainbow or the Peace, whatever it was in Buffalo, and we were timing it because we were so pissed how long it was taking. It was like 5 minutes 30 seconds per person, and our line was the shortest. You can't switch over at a point. So anyway,
prime time. You went through prime time.
That's
that's why they want to check everybody. They get the dogs out. I
meant to ask Dean Locust this. I guess I'll ask Reed this. What about the conversions? Has that been like, because you grew up in Canada, Dean grew up obviously in Michigan, but now the conversions with money, with miles to kilometers, meters to feet, the weather, like, has that been tripping you up a little bit?
No, not really. The miles to kilometers is pretty easy just because you can switch the button on your car, and obviously the money was pretty nice. Converting the American back to Canadian, that was pretty nice.
Reed, who do you bill it with?
I don't live with another guy. I was with Vetch, but that didn't last very long.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, and growing up, we talked about your hockey experience, but did you play any other sports as well?
Yeah, I played lacrosse for a couple of years when I was younger, and obviously
I can see that.
the baseballs and soccers when I was like super, super young. But other than that, not really. It's been pretty consistently just hockey. Obviously,
Do you think
too.
Right. How's the golf game looking?
It gets better by the end of the summer, but the first couple rounds I need a couple balls when I go for it.
It's all right, buddy. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's completely fair. I think we're all like that. Do you think lacrosse helped you out a lot playing hockey? Because I know Angus played a lot of lacrosse growing up. Maybe you didn't play as much. You said you played a little bit more when you were younger, but do you think it's helped?
I would say yes, for sure. I don't see how it could have any harm. Just like I think it's a lot of hands in lacrosse, and it's also like I jumped into it because like I knew I was like more of like a physically built guy when I was younger and bigger than everybody else, and it was a super physical sport, so it was just something fun to do in the summer with my buddies.
Last thing for me, and I mean, I was going to build on that point too. Have you talked to Angus McDonnell about lacrosse? Like, do you still watch or play? And have you talked to Angus about it at all?
I don't watch it or play it anymore, but me and him have the odd chat about it.
What about like I still want to know how to twist the ball. I got to ask you guys that. I still can't do it. You know, you guys. It's hard, man. It's a good sport. I went to a couple of lacrosse games, loved it. But Reed, last thing for me, cook. Get out there and start cooking. Get out there and start cooking. I think one guy that could cook could probably be you. You'd be the more serious cook. I could actually see you if you were cooking, and then people that hey, listen, get off my stove, get away from me. And I can see you cooking up a big gourmet meal, sitting back and relaxing and watching everybody. So listen, get out there and cook. Keep playing well. Keep playing well back there, Finn Harding, my man. You're really, really playing well right now. That was a joke, but you're really stepping up your game, and keep it up.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Reed. I mean, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll see you around the rink, and all the best, my man. Keep going strong, and keep fitting into Mississauga. You look good out there.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right, Reed G of the Mississauga Steelheads, defenseman number 8. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back on Sauga 960 AM. Welcome back to Trout Talk on Sauga 960 AM. Zach Bodenstein, Brendan Lang, Mike Karafalidis. Guys, we just spoke to Reed Gee. He's been a Steelhead for about a month now. What did you guys think about how he conducted himself in that interview?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. We talked about the mature answer there with the refs and the goals. They gave some good answers, but for Reed, it was good to talk to him. Like he said, Zach, it was the first time you had met him, and for Mikey, he's obviously known him a little bit more being out on the road. I got to interview him once during one of the intermissions, so good to kind of get to know the player a little bit more. And I think he's been fitting in really, really well with the team here in Mississauga. The first couple games, obviously, it's difficult. You talk about the first game, didn't get a practice, didn't know anybody, comes in, has to play, and then now he's really starting to figure it out. I think you really see the toughness stand out in the fight that we saw here in Mississauga. I can't remember who he fought, but it was
on Sarnia.
Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but
anyway,
I can't remember. Anyways, but you can see he held his own in that. You see the physicality, but I also think too, something that maybe flies under the radar is he's a really good skater. Like he could create a lot of movement up the ice with his skating, and I think that he's just going to continue to do that. I think there's some offense in there as well. Yeah, he's only got 1 point since he's come over to Mississauga, but I do think there's some more offense that can be unlocked in his game.
Yeah, because he knows when to jump up and when not to.
Right.
Those two, I'm telling you, him and Finn Harding have something going back there, boys, especially on the weekend. Like Finn Harding will be able to do exactly what he said, jump the rush. Finn knows when to come in for the and find that lane, that extra lane to come in for that shot. And Reed, they greet each other, and then Reed will kind of sit back. All right, you want to go? I'm going to stand back. Then Reed will go, and then Finn Harding will stay back, but it'll be more Finn Harding. But those two really have a good thing going up the chemistry. I think besides Fibiker and Sharp, these are the two best chemistry going. Two other defensemen going with the best chemistry back there for the Steelheads right now.
Well, I've been saying it since the trade deadline. They've got such a luxury back there with 7 quality defensemen. And I know Dragusika's just a rookie, but we often forget it because he's been in the lineup so often and he's been playing so well. So when everybody's healthy, when Stevie Leskovar's back, like somebody's got to sit on that left side. And we know it's not Jakob Fibiger. see that smile, Mikey. You're just you're excited about that decor, but it really is so dominant. And they all play two-way games too. I mean, like Leskovar and Guy are a little bit more of a stay-home type, and you know, you have the option to dress, you know, 11 and 7 if you wanted to, and then take one of the rookie forwards out. Like, the options there. I think it might depend on matchups. If they do play like a hard, rugged rival team like Brantford, maybe you want to go with 7 defensemen. Like, it's just an option. I mean, I don't coach the team. I don't make the lineup decisions, but that's something that's been going through my mind, Brendan, just like the luxury that they have when they're all healthy.
Yeah, they really do. And you talk about if it's a kind of a physical game, getting somebody like Leskovar in there and Guy and Dragusica. Like, I mean, that's 3 guys there that really play with physicality. Obviously, Sharp does as well, too. So obviously they have a luxury. And then, too, some guys went down with injury. Liam Spencer jumps in. Obviously, he's been playing in Junior A, but he comes up and he had pretty good
2 points
up north. Yeah,
2
like
points.
He played really well when he got in the
Hit a
lineup. I mean, that's another guy who can step in. They got 8 defensemen who could play in this lineup. Yep. And one of them is playing in a level below right now, and he's having a great season actually down there as well. But so many guys that they could go to, and I agree. I think it's possible you do see 11 and 7 a little more often here.
I'm going to piggyback on top of that too. Leskovar is out of the lineup right now, boys.
Right.
Just think about that. He's out of the lineup right now, and I'm going to jump up to Mason Zabeski as well. Those 2 are out of the lineup. If those 2 are going to come back soon, that's going to add even more, I think, up front, depth scoring, the force that we know Mason Zabeski is on the forecheck, banging and crashing, causing chances, getting good scoring opportunities. That's going to be huge. He should be back in this weekend. He should be back in against the Sudbury Wolves, right? Stevie Leskovar should be back in against the Sudbury Wolves as well. So now what do you do now? Right. So this is a good situation to be in. Do you sit Dragusica? Do you sit, right? I mean, Liam Spencer had a great weekend. He had 2 points on the weekend. He had 1 against Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, his first OHL point. He hit the goalpost, had Vondras beat out to lunch, but Mark Boudreau was there to put in the rebound and 2 points. So it's a nice luxury to have back there. Absolutely. What do you go with? 11 and 7? Yeah, I mean, tough coaching decision. I'd go 11 and 7 if I was me, but JR knows obviously more than all of us, so you know.
It's definitely possible. And when you're talking about Mason Zabeski too being out up front, I think that he plays that kind of game where he's hard on the forecheck, he's really hard on pucks and that kind of stuff. But I do think with him being out of the lineup, it's unlocked a couple more guys who have kind of fit into that role a little bit. When you look at people farther down the lineup, I mean, even somebody in the top 6 a lot of the time, and Adam Zidlicki, he's playing a lot more kind of on that forecheck, and obviously he's got the speed to do it. Gabe Sherrod has really been crashing around down low, getting pucks back. Kieran Witkowski, who's I think it was the last home game the Steelheads had. You had said that he's a similar kind of guy to Mason Zabeski was in his first season. So, and I can see that comparison. Like, it has unlocked a few more guys that kind of have fit into that role. And once Zabeski comes back, now you can add that to guys like Witkowski and Sherrod and Zidlicki who are already doing it. I think it's going to help them immensely.
I'm glad you like that comp because, again, when I watched Kieran Witkowski this year, it caught my eye a few weeks ago. I was like, this is what Mason Zabeski did last year. Now look at Mason. He's catching the eyes of NHL scouts. We know of a few teams that we won't say that have been, you know, inquiring about Mason Zabeski in the upcoming draft. So that's super cool. And I mean, Witkowski's got all those tools. He's got the same nastiness and he thinks the game the same way. Let's give a shout out to Liam Spencer too, because Mikey knows that's a guy who was riding the bus. He was taking practice. He was doing everything he could. He was staying around the team despite not getting in the lineup. Like, a lot of kids would get discouraged if they were in that situation, but he kind of stuck with it and he came back with a vengeance. And, you know, he worked on some things in Junior A, came back and he had a great weekend up north. So shout out to Spencer. He did. And Brandon, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I know. I was just wanted to just quickly on what you're talking about there with Liam Spencer. I said Junior A. That was my fault. He's playing in Junior B right now in Strathroy, but 20 points in 20 games down there. So obviously there's some offense there as well. Just wanted to throw that in there just to kind of give him his flowers, so to speak, because he did play well on the weekend.
He did.
Okay, Mike, smiling Mike. Let's talk about the upcoming weekend for the Steelheads. 3 in 4. It's Thursday, Friday, and then Sunday. Let's start with the Peterborough Petes. It is a rebuilding team, but it's a tough building to play in.
Oh, that building is really tough. Square corners. That's all I have to say is square corners. So you gotta get used to those square corners right away, and that's a tough team for any visiting team to play in. But last time they played each other, it was, I think Liam Stushka made 53 saves and actually saved the game for them. And every shot was like quality. So Peterborough Peens ended up winning that game, but they got to get some quality chances, keep shooting on goal. I think that they could get 6 out of 6, actually, boys, if you look at it this weekend. Then they got the Barrie Colts coming up on Friday night, a team that they struggled against. It's pretty much been the Sam Hillebrand show, right, for 3 games in a row. Right. I mean, Sam Hillebrand, it just seems like he comes to another level when he plays the Steelheads for some reason. So hopefully he will, I mean, he's a good goaltender. We wish him all the best, but not against Mississauga. Right. So hopefully they can get some goals by him. And I think it's a very winnable game, of course. But they've been playing well, Barrie Colts, lately. They just come off a nice win against the Erie Otters in Erie. Tough place to play on Monday night.
Yeah.
And then against the Sudbury Wolves. Well, we all know the rivalry between these two teams, and I think it should be they could again get the 2 points. You just got to get, and as Reed Geese said, these guys don't like to play defense, right? Get the fast breakouts, as they said, if they worked on in practice, the fast breakouts, get that puck in the offensive zone, forecheck that Sudbury defense like to death, right? And just keep forechecking, cause the turnovers like they did in the first period against the Wolves, the last game they played. Then they scored those 2 goals. Keep it up for 60 minutes. You'll see maybe 6 out of 6. And this is a huge weekend. Huge.
Yeah, it is a massive weekend for Mississauga. And yeah, you talk about Peterborough there. Obviously, it's a tough place to play no matter what the record says for the Peterborough Petes. It's always going to be a rivalry game when they're going in there and playing that. But also, I think we should maybe, and like Mikey just talked about, maybe focus a little more on Sudbury, because that's what's going to be coming up here right after Trout talk. And you kind of laid it all out there, Mikey. That's exactly what they have to do. Get in on that forecheck. I know you love to talk about the forecheck, and that's something that Sudbury doesn't like. You need to make them make quick decisions back there. And if the Steelheads do that, I think they're going to be pretty well positioned to, like you said, hopefully pick up 6 out of 6. I mean, that would be huge if they could do that. And then also you're always going to have confidence that the goaltending is going to come through. Leanders played really well against Sudbury in that game. Sure, he did give up, there were 6 goals in there. Gave up, I think it was 40 shots again in that game too. So
Every game is 40 shots.
Right. He made huge saves in that one. A lot of them really weren't his fault. So
exactly.
He's going to be back in there. Ivan Kovic back in the lineup, which is huge. He's playing well since he's come back. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a possibility to get 6 out of 6. And when you play against especially the Wolves, and a team as good as the Wolves, kind of here, not back-to-back, but pretty close, kind of just a week off between the 2 games, the rivalry is going to ratchet up a little bit. So I'm excited to see that one.
It's a really good team. If I had to pick right now, if somebody said, gun to your head, who's the best team in the Eastern Conference? It could be the Sudbury Wolves. Are they the most complete team? Maybe not. I mean, like Oshawa's got a case now, guys. They're coming out of nowhere.
Man, they look good.
It's a jam-packed Eastern Conference, and that's not to say that the Steelheads aren't right there. They're right in the mix, but
they are.
All these games, I said this a few weeks ago, guys, all these games are playoff games at this point. You want to solidify your position. You want to show that you could stick with them head-to-head, and to get some key contributors in Leskovar and Zabeski back in the lineup would be huge. So I'm super excited for this one, especially we're talking about Sudbury. First trip for them to Mississauga, and it's February, but Second, a lot of star power. No, it's a first.
No, that's second. But the Steelheads beat them in a shootout.
Yes, they did. Okay. That was
called that game, my friend. Yes.
Yeah. With Miso and backhand.
I was not at that game. I don't remember a shootout this year.
I
don't think I've seen a shootout this year.
Yes, Ivan Kovic was in that. He started that game. But yes, so this second time. So the Wolves got to come 2 more times to the PFFC. They're done over there in Sudbury. Now it's 2 more times they come here. So I can't wait. I can't wait for this game to happen. Us 3 are actually going to be on the call of that one. So I cannot wait. Coming up,
it's going to be a good one. Going to be a good one. By the way, before we get to life tips, spoke to Scott Wheeler at the NHL All-Star game. He said he had a blast with you guys. So
thank you.
I'm not surprised. I told him they're fun dudes. They know what they're doing. So I'm glad that went well. Okay, so let's get to some life tips. Mikey's usually the guy. Brendan's always like, I've got nothing. Mikey's got his wisdom. So whoever wants to jump in.
All right. Educate people. Educate people. As in, if somebody doesn't know who you are, I'm saying like for a hockey team, if they mention, like for example, all right, so we went into, where was it? The Sioux. And, there's this older couple and Oh, who are you guys with and stuff like that? Talk to them. Don't be rude. Some people are rude and just be like, "Oh yeah, we're with the Steelheads," and walk away. No, we're in the OHL. We played these guys play at the Mississauga Steelheads, and they. Oh, so that's against the Sault Ste. Marie. Yes, of course. Oh, okay, I know the Mississauga. Like educate. Some people are rude and they act like they're they got their nose up in the air. No, educate. Be nice. That's all I have to say. Educate.
Yeah, I like that. Educate, and also, don't feel like you're higher than other people, right? If they have something to say, and you listen to them, give them some advice, give them, the information that they're looking for, and
sure,
that's all there is to it.
Happened in Flint. Scottville had no idea who the heck we were or anything like that. It was actually saying, it was about a 10-minute education session, but hey, now they knew why we were there. So it's cool. I didn't have, my nose up in the air, and it was actually a nice conversation with this older couple. They're very nice earlier in the year. But anyway, yeah. So educate to be nice.
It's a fun league. And sometimes people just go to just have a good time, drink some beers. But if you actually want to embrace the league and get to know these players who end up becoming superstars in pro hockey, I mean, it's a great league. So yeah, I would agree with you. Just be educated, and if you're not, be rude. Don't be rude. Ask questions. There's nothing wrong with that. Look, I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know everything about everything to constantly, but you guys might think I do, but I don't. So I'm happy to ask questions and try to, and don't be afraid to say you don't know something.
That's right. And you learn something. I learn something every day. Don't be afraid to say you don't know this person's last name, and be afraid to ask. There's another thing too, right? Because we've heard some, again. So anyway, won't get into that. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask.
It's a good way to end off, I think. Right?
There you go. All right.
Okay, so episode 26 of Trout Talk in the book coming up next. A big game coming up between the Sudbury Wolves and the Mississauga Steelheads here on Saga 960 AM. Zach Bodenstein, Brennan Lang, Mike Karafalitis will be back next week, and enjoy the game.